one of my bosses would be like on the market, like sending Bloomberg messages at like 2 a.m. or like 3 a.m. And then be at work the next day at like 6 a.m. And it was pretty intense. Like I think the summer I was there, last summer was like a very intense time. So it was fun to be there. There's like a lot of like keyboard smashing a couple of times. There's like people actually fighting, arguing on the thing about like their different directions, and like people arguing about like why even though they're losing money that they're right, and like it's just
Yeah.
an overall like it gets intense.
Okay, for anyone that's upset for me using Ghibli Studio art generation to make this, you need to calm down. Come on, look at how cool this is. I know it might be wasting water and electricity and ripping off the entire life's work of an artist, but look at how cool this is. Anyway, thanks for coming back to the Unbuttoned podcast. This is me and my friend Sahith chit chatting. So, how does it feel? Like, are you pretty excited, pretty hyped to be on this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching your other videos on the podcast, and they're all great. So I was pretty excited when you asked me to be on the podcast. I'm not sure how much value I can provide, but I'll try my best to do it and like say and share my experiences.
Yeah, yeah. So you really thought the other videos were great? Because I don't know. I feel like I'm just getting my start in this thing, and I don't know if I'm really bringing the energy. Do you think there's something I need to change in this podcast, or do you think I should kind of just keep it how it's been?
I think it's great. I think you have a good way of going about just like keeping it general, but then you kind of just probe into like and probe in and like ask some good questions when you find something interesting. I think as a viewer, that's like what I want to know. Like if like you're asking the probing questions for me when I'm watching your videos, I'm like, yeah, that's great. But yeah, I think in terms of just like reach, it honestly ends up just being like the more videos you constantly put out, eventually for no reason that one of them goes viral, just like the nature of virality on the internet, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna go viral. Probably this video actually. So let's get into the probing questions. You ready for
Yeah,
me to probe you, Syed, with some pretty riveting questions?
I'm 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 ready.
Let's just start off with this. So you're an incoming quant trader, current engineering student at an Ivy League UPenn. So what does a typical day look like for you? Like what did you do today, for example? You woke up, do you have any like sort of special routine or just get into the grind right away?
I would say today was probably not like the most like normal typical day for me in that I'm like pretty relaxed. It's a pretty relaxing day. I woke up around like I think like 11:30 a.m. Just because we had like a friend's birthday and I was up until 4 a.m. last night. Um, but yeah, I woke up at 11:30, got home, got ready for the day. Um, Talked to my parents. I think I talked to my parents like at this point maybe even only like once or twice a week. So that the calls usually go long because of that. So I think I talked to them for like over an hour. Um, and then I had like I'm taking an OS class on like operating systems. We're on the final project, so we basically just have to build a whole operating system from scratch.
Oh,
And like I'm not the best at C like programming in like C, but yeah, I think we had to like kind of dive into that. So we had a TA meeting today, so we had to like kind of present a milestone's work. So we were pretty stressed about that, but I think it went okay. But it's still in the beginning stages. And then after that, I kind of just like left the house, got coffee, and yeah, now I'm here.
awesome. So you said you called your parents, so your parents back home somewhere? Where's home for you, Syed?
Yeah, so home is Hyderabad in India, and I that's where I was until I came to Penn. Um, I think I moved to Hyderabad when I was like around 8 years old because I was born in Iowa in the United States, and then I moved back like second grade.
Okay, so like you've been in the US some like time before, like growing up in Hyderabad. So when you came from Hyderabad here to Penn and like came back to the US, was it like was there any like culture shock or anything different, or did you kind of know like what to expect coming to the US?
I think I had like a good idea. Like I think it definitely helps that I lived the first 8 years of my life here, but it's different because I was in like Des Moines, Iowa. Pretty different from like the Northeast, in Philadelphia. But yeah, I had a general idea and like a lot of like insights that you only get by being in the United States before. But I think in general, like a lot of people across the world, like with the internet and everything, have a pretty good idea of like how stuff works in the US and like how different places look here. It might be a little exaggerated or like people might have like somewhat of like a twisted or like a little different from like the reality of an idea. But in general, I think media and like social media has done a pretty good job of just like showcasing the US to the world. So I think even my peers who have come with me who have never been to the US before, like it's not like the complete unknown.
Yeah, no, and I feel that when I talk to like any of my international student friends, like nowadays the gap is pretty much like been bridged. Like everything's very globalized. Like we're all watching the same reels and the same memes, and we all kind of know the same thing. So, and even like all the same slang and everything, it's not really that different. So
Talking about this with like my roommate Joseph, um, about like how like was when we travel, we've been started traveling a lot, but like when we started traveling, we started noticing some things. But I guess we could talk about that later on. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard you're quite the traveler. We'll get into all those stories, but yeah, you said you noticed like yeah, we can talk about it now, dude. You said you noticed some like what like
Yeah.
when you traveled overseas, like people are pretty similar to the way they act here, or would you say
I
different?
think what me and Joseph were talking about was like after a certain level of like income or like once you're living at like above the median income or maybe at a certain income level in the top like so and so percent, I think life in different countries and cities especially is very very similar. Like the differences you feel like when I travel and I'm spending money while I'm traveling, like the differences aren't that great. Like you wake up, you have like restaurants, there's the city, there's a town, there's roads, there's cars, you take Ubers, and everything's like pretty standardized. But when me and Joseph went on a trip where like we basically spent like no money. We were like complete backpacking, no like hotels and like none of that. We were literally just walking into supermarkets and buying like raw food and like trying to cook or maybe just like living off baguettes and stuff.
Where was this?
This was so we actually hiked the tour. It's called the Tour de Mont Blanc. It's like a 100-mile hike around Mont Blanc. And I went in like never backpacking before. Like I've never this was my first time like outside of like India and the US and like I've never like actually traveled before this. So it was like a crazy experience, but it was definitely like one of my favorite things to ever do. But yeah, I think that's when we like actually felt the difference and we're like, oh, this is what like the real France is like. This is what the real Italy is like. This is what the real Switzerland's like. And just like you actually get to interact with people and like you're just living. You talk to people in like these campsites and you actually get to know how like your living styles are different.
Yeah, no, I would say that definitely makes sense. Um, but yeah, so then coming as like an international student, obviously going to an Ivy League school, like if you're in the US is a big deal, but it's especially like big when you're coming from another country. So like what made you, was it your plan to always come back to the US eventually, or were you thinking of maybe going to college back in India somewhere near Hyderabad? And yeah, when did like growing up in like India, you must have obviously like been pretty talented in school, like gotten really good marks and had like obviously an interest in engineering that want to go across to another country to study. So like yeah, when did you kind of start noticing that interest? And then was Penn your first choice or did you have other options in India?
Yeah, I guess I can just go through like my entire journey of like how I ended up in
Yeah,
at
yeah.
um but I think I can start in like eighth grade when I was like around eighth grade was when the time I was like starting to I was good at like both sports and academics, but I kind of realized that like academics is probably like a better bet for me just given that like the uncertainty in sports is like something I didn't want to deal with. Um, and like you never know when you're gonna get injured, you never know when your career can end. And then you're gonna kind of like, wait, what do I do right now? And like I didn't want to have that. I think now my mindset might have changed a little bit, but back then I think it was a pretty good decision to stick to like focus on the academics, even though I was
What
like
what sport would you want it to play? Like,
I started playing volleyball and I'd play for my like high school team like as soon as I joined, like even in like eighth grade I was playing like for under 16 or like under 17, sometimes even under 19 tournaments. So I was pretty good at volleyball, but again, I did know that like India itself wasn't the best at volleyball in the world. And like just the scope of like until where like how much the effort to like how much you get was low, but it would make sense if I like volleyball was like the biggest thing that I enjoyed in my life, which I don't think it was because like I really enjoy just like solving puzzles too, and I'm like that's probably the better route to go. Yeah, so I would still play volleyball. I still do play volleyball. But I think eighth grade was the time I realized that it's like academics is probably what it's gonna take me into like college. Um, so in ninth grade, I started like I was pretty good at math. I would do like a lot of Olympiad, just like random like math tests. I was good in school. I wasn't the best at like my other classes. Like I wasn't great at stuff without numbers involved.
yeah,
Like languages and like biology. Like I was like struggling. Um, but yeah, and like I like kind of pushed on the math thing because I knew that's what I was best at. And like I did a lot of Olympiad. I think in 10th grade I was like, where do I want to go to college? And like the first obvious option was IIT. I think as it is for most people in like who grew up in India, like you want to go to IIT because that's where all the opportunities are. They're known to be the best in India. There's also just like such a like everyone just loves people that go to IIT. They look up to them, and you're like, yeah, I like will kind of want that. So then to get into IIT, you have to go through like a rigorous process of testing. There's like 2 rounds of tests, and like they're extremely hard. And yeah, and I was like ready for it. So I went into like this IIT prep class, which I had like joined. I was doing it on the weekends in 10th grade, and then I wasn't the best at it. I was like, even in my institute, I was probably like the average student. And then in 11th grade, I was like, okay, like I think now is the time where I just like lock in for this test for like the next 2 years. So in 11th grade, I went to this full-time like IIT prep school. So we would get like I would go there at like 6:30 a.m. We would have classes, we would study there, we would eat there, like everything, and then we would come back home at like we would leave there at like 10:30, so I'd get home at like 11, and then I'd leave at 6 a.m. the next, or like 5:50 the next morning again. So it was a pretty rigorous process for like a year. And like I was in a good standing to get into IIT. I would say like I was pretty confident that I would get into IIT. It was more of like I want to get into a good IIT and get to do a subject that I wanted to do, which was like computer science.
yeah. No, but is engineering and comps are like the main subjects offered at IIT, right? Or
Yeah,
can
I think it's purely just engineering subjects. Maybe they do like a little bit of like engineering physics or engineering science now. But yeah, it's all technical. Like I think their courses include like computer science, AI, computational
yeah,
mathematics,
like
stuff like that.
everything engineering. What when you went to these like prep classes, like grinding all day? Like, did you have like any fun, like any interesting stories from that, or is just like locking in?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, like we're humans, so like even everyone in the institute was doing the same thing. These guys were like grinding for the IIT test for like 5 years now. I just jumped in 11th grade. These guys have been doing it since like third grade, fifth grade, or whatever. So like yeah, they've been through it, so like they know that like they obviously we did have fun in class. Like obviously when you're spending like all day with the same people, like literally in a closed room, like you're gonna get close. I got really close to these guys. We would be like working on problems together. Everyone was like very motivated though, because they kind of like rank everyone and then create the classes based on that. So this is a very motivated class with like a lot of smart people. Like everyone is insanely smart. But we would like, yeah, we would like be making fun of each other throughout. Like it was a pretty fun process, in that aspect, but it was also like stressful. So it was a good balance. I didn't hate myself during this time. I know that a lot of people like, kind of like, it gets to them, and I totally understand why. But I think just the fact that, um, like the culture was so good in this class, where like everyone just knew that like we're not competing with each other. I know that in a lot of institutes you try to feel like you're competing among each other, especially when you're getting ranked against these guys in every week on an open like no, on an open notice board. But yeah, I think our culture was great, and I'm like so lucky for that being great. And yeah, everyone ended up well. But after 11th grade, when COVID hit, I was sitting at home still doing IIT prep, but that's when I was like, wait, like I was born in the US. My parent, like all my entire family is from the like we're American citizens. It might make sense for me to also apply to the US. But then I'm like, wait, like my extracurriculars have like kind of gone a little bit downhill since like eighth grade or like ninth grade. But I still did do like a good amount of stuff until 10th grade, and I like did a good amount of Olympiad, which
Yeah.
is that colleges like. So I took my shot. I like they
And I'm
grind.
sure like what like all the IIT prep you did like counted, right? Like as kind of an extracurricular or not really.
Not really. Like
Okay.
all the like I there's a lot of physics and chemistry, but like you can't really put that down in an American application anywhere. Like it hasn't been tested yet. Like maybe if I had done the IIT exam and gotten a rank, I could have put it down. But I was still in the process of it, so it's not like quantifiable yet.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really put that down on my application. But the math Olympiads, which I've been taking throughout this process, were like what I was like hoping to focus on. And then I also was like doing a lot of like engineering-ish projects like throughout. Like I was coding Arduinos in like eighth and ninth grade, 10th grade. So I had just like I had like a whole science fair thing going on until 10th grade. But yeah, after COVID hit, I was like maybe like applying to the US makes sense. So then like I had like one family friend who like got into Berkeley the year before, and that's the only guy I knew that like went to the US in recent times. And
Why did COVID make you think about coming to the US?
I think it's just like when you like I guess when we're grinding in that one room in like the IIT prep school, um, there's no access to like you're not using like any tech. Like I would like the only time I would use tech would be like the 20 minutes before I slept at like 11 p.m. I would just catch up with like my high school like my friends from before and like stuff like that. But um yeah, so you're just so locked in that like you're not thinking about anything else. But when COVID hit, like obviously I'm on my computer more. You're like you actually have the time to like sit back and like think. You're not constantly being like yeah, you're just like exposed to more stuff, and I'm like, great, like is it worth the bet of like applying to the US, and like how does the IIT actually compare to these universities, which are probably a little bit like easier to get into, not the top, like not the Ivy League obviously, but like even like other universities in the US. And then I realized it was probably worth the bet. It's like just like applying at least. So then my sleep schedule got even worse. Like I was sleeping like 4 hours a night for like this 2 or 3 month period of just like writing college essays, creating my US application, and doing IIT prep, which is probably like the hardest I've worked. But I think it all like in my early round, I got into a couple of state schools, but I got deferred or rejected. I don't remember by Cornell. Um, I think I got deferred, and then my regular round.
You apply to all the Ivies?
No, I applied to like Penn, Harvard, Columbia, and Cornell. Um, yeah, I don't think I applied to like Brown and Yale and stuff, and Dartmouth.
So
But
Penn was regular decision, right?
yeah, Penn was regular decision. But I ended up getting an interview from Penn, and I think the interview went well. And I like so I was kind of hopeful, but then again, like you never know, especially when you're applying from India, like no one I don't know anyone at Penn. I've like have no relation whatsoever. I have known like don't know a single person that's gone to like a US university other than the guy that's gone to Berkeley. And like I did all the application process myself, like no help on the essays, no help on like anything. So I was pretty like I knew it was like a slim shot. But I got into Penn, and like once I got into Penn, I was like pretty convinced that it was a better shot, especially like with like all the aid and stuff to come to Penn over going to like IIT.
Yeah.
Um, So I
And
was like, I was pretty happy. I was like, I stopped preparing for the IIT test. I did end up taking like the first round because it was like I took it before getting into Penn, and I think I got around like a 450-ish rank in India. Um,
what does that mean? 450?
I mean they kind of just like rank everyone who takes the test, which is like I think 10 million people.
Wait, is
And
it the IIT test?
yeah, it's the first round of the IIT test. So you don't really get into IIT by taking this test, but you need it to go to the second round, which is like the extremely hard one, which I
Wait, how
honestly
many
like
people? How many
better.
people took this test altogether?
Uh, I think around 10 million.
10 million, and you placed 114.
No, no, 450th.
450. Okay, still, that's insane. So that, I mean, like obviously that's considered good, right? Or do you have to like does that allow you to move on to the next round?
Yeah, I think around like I think the top 10% moved to the next round,
Okay, okay.
and like a million moved to the next round.
Yeah, wow, okay. That's awesome. But then at that point, like you didn't move forward because you knew you were gonna come to Penn, right?
Yeah, yeah. The next round, like they moved it back because of COVID, so it was in October, and I was already at Penn by August.
So when you came to Penn, like well, I mean back obviously like in high school, you were pretty much just grinding all the time. You didn't really have time to like think or do anything else, at least till like COVID hit. So then when you came to Penn, was it like awesome? Because like you just had all this obviously you're still grinding at Penn, like but as a freshman, like you just had all this freedom of like you can plan your own life and do your own things. So like was that kind of like a good thing that you're excited about, or was it also like difficult to transition to that? To like having your whole life like booked out for you versus now it's like you have to plan your own life.
Yeah. I think until 10th grade, I was like probably like one of like I'd never cared about like school or anything until like the end of 10th grade basically because I would literally just like leave class to just like work on projects and like all the teachers were like they knew that I'd be fine so they really wouldn't say anything to me so I'd just be like leaving class like they would come to class and I wouldn't be there and they would send someone to like search around the school for like me and my friends. We'd be going on like tournaments for like volleyball and soccer and like all this stuff and like random stuff. So like the amount of time I spent in class in like 10th grade was like so low and I would just be doing random stuff like until then. So like I did know how much I loved just like doing random stuff. But I also enjoyed like locking in 11th to 12th grade and I like saw the value in just like locking in. So when I came to college, it was pretty much a mix. I was still in the flow of just like, oh, like I'm someone who just like locks in. Um, but I think that changed pretty quick. Like a month in, I was like just like hanging out, like just having like college itself, like getting into college. And like that first month is like such a overwhelming experience because like you're meeting so many new people which are becoming so close to you so fast.
Yeah.
And you're like yeah, you're experiencing a lot of new things. It's a new country. You're meeting a lot of people from other countries and like other places with other interests and like stuff that they do. So you're kind of just exploring the world in that sense, through other people. And I think, yeah, I was like, this is what I came to the US for. Like, I just wanted to throw myself into as many things as possible.
Yeah.
So I was like doing a lot of random stuff, like freshman year like freshman's like fall especially like it was a big learning experience where like you come out of like India and you're like learning and like experiencing the US for like a whole semester.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed it. I like I think I was like wait what am I doing so I fell back into the grind like freshman spring where I was taking all these hard classes again, which I like definitely regret in hindsight but yeah it was a journey.
That's yeah. That no, that's a lot. And I remember like being in some classes with you. So like talk a little bit about this because like you just like even now you're just like overload with like as many classes as you can like pack in. So like how do you even I know there's like kind of two I mean there's like kind of two methods. Like I know some people like kind of take less classes because like they're not able to like spread their attention like that wide. So they'll take like less classes and like just like kind of lock in those. But then there's so many people at Penn who just like credit load, like take as many classes as they can, and then somehow they like manage to get through it all. You probably have to like do all kinds of like hacks and miss classes because like you physically like you just literally don't have the time to like go to certain classes and assignments are overlapping. So like how do you manage that and like what kind of mindset do you need to have to do that? And then another question about that is like do you to manage that, do you just kind of have to be willing that like, all right, I might be like screwed in some classes, or like I might be screwed on a test here and there, or like you're trying to just like still get the best grade and everything? Like do you have to like give up maybe on grades a little bit if you want to like credit load?
Yeah. So coming into college, I like never had the like I was like, yeah, I want a good GPA, but like I never wanted the best GPA. It wasn't like a core focus that I had. And my like goal for college, like coming in at least, was like one, I want a good outcome out of college. And like two, I wanted to have fun and explore and like just like explore as much as I could, learn as much as I could. And I think that's most people, like other than the GPA part, like the other part, like they just want to learn as much as possible. Like everyone coming to Penn is like very motivated. Everyone wants to learn as much as possible. And like they're all like these guys are like academic weapons. So like I think I knew that like the competition at Penn is really high, the classes are hard and stuff. And I was willing to forego GPA and just like learn. And I think as yeah, and it definitely did impact my GPA. Like I was like I wasn't able to perform all my class. Like I remember sitting next to you in like class, and like I was literally just like I don't even know what I was doing, but I was definitely not paying attention. And like you would ask me a question about what the professor said, and I'd be like, I honestly have no clue. But yeah, I when I do go to class, it's usually for like hanging out with friends. Like just like if I have friends in the class, that's when I go to class.
Like
Uh,
when do you actually learn the content? You just have to teach yourself everything?
yeah, I think I'm like somewhat good at just like learning, like cramming stuff before tests. I don't necessarily think it's the best way to learn. It's definitely better to like retain information over the semester over time. And like I do that for like some of my classes, but I think my whole idea was that I never had this one thing where like this is what I want to achieve. Like in my, like this is my end goal. Like I want to create a company that optimizes GPUs or whatever. Like I never had a goal like that. I never knew that like GPUs are my thing, ML is my thing, quant trading is my thing, like banking is, I never had like a set goal. Like I came in like very open. Um and like the only so I had like I just wanted to collect as many experiences as possible because I think the only reason for me I would do less classes as less as possible and like get to the best like top and like be really good at them is if I had like an established goal and like I'm pointing in one direction. And I think I'm like everyone has to do that at some point. Like you have to do that after college, maybe. That's my opinion. Like everyone does it at some point, but I knew that college wasn't that time for me. So and like until I find this direction that I want to go in, like go deep into, it's just better for me to just collect as many like random things that I know that I can maybe put together later, and just like expand my overall horizon of like what I know and like knowing what I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people miss because like people who wanna like land these positions like awesome internships or get a return offer somewhere, like they just wanna like optimize for GPA and like people will just like I don't know, they'll just like maybe take easier classes or not push themselves. But then I feel like that actually like kind of backfires because like nowadays especially like it's less about like these things like title of your school and GPA and all. It's like what can you actually I mean for an engineer, it's like what can you actually like build? Like so if you just kind of like expose yourself to as many things as possible, then you can probably build like cooler stuff and like that's more interesting to get land you these roles. And I mean I feel like that's what you did, right? Like so what was one of the first like internships you did in college?
Oh yeah, so freshman year, I was like, so my parents are still in India, and I was like, okay, like, what do I want to do this summer? I didn't want to just go back for all 3 months because I knew that like everyone else was just applying to internships, getting research, and doing that type of stuff. So I was like, yeah, I probably should do an internship, and so when I decided that I want to, I kind of just like started applying to a bunch of places, applied to like every place I could find, because as a freshman, it's like kind of like at this point probably basically impossible to like find an internship. But there's like I had an interview with Raytheon, and my interviewer like asked me a question and I looked clueless. Like he like wait he came into the interview and he was like, so are you a freshman? And I go, yeah. And he goes, okay.
Wait, real quick before you get into the story, like just give a little brief overview of Raytheon and like what kind of stuff they work on for people who don't know.
Yeah, Raytheon is like mainly a defense contractor. Um, I was interviewing with like their more like their intelligence and like satellites. Like they have like different sub companies within them. I was working with like their satellite, like it's called like our Raytheon Space and Intelligence or Intelligence and Space. And these guys make satellites that they put up and then they help for like all the weather forecasting, making like finding like any signs of like natural disasters that they can find earlier than usual. So it's a bunch of cool work, but it's also like a bunch of classified work.
Yeah.
So as an intern, you don't get to see a lot of it.
And they do they work with NASA too to like send information to like Hubble and uh like JWST like telescopes,
Yeah,
or it's just more like other satellite stuff.
it's telescopes too. They basically try to get as many contracts as possible from the government.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you land this interview. First of all, like how did you like even get to the point of getting an interview? Because I know a lot of like freshmen in college like struggle to like find anything at all. I mean, even just internships in general. Like how did you get to that point of even earning an interview?
I think I just applied to like hundreds of places.
Yeah, you just all right, and they
Just like made my resume as as much of like is like I basically just like made my resume as good as I possibly could.
okay.
I think only on the good things I've done in my life.
Yeah.
And,
All right. So you get that you're there. You're at the interview, and so like what you tell him you're a freshman, and
yeah,
then
and then he goes, okay, like yeah, I just wanted to ask that, I'm not gonna like this. It's not a deal breaker, like, and I was like, yeah, I'm a freshman, like, in I'm studying computer science or whatever. So then he comes in and he goes like, he asked me a question and I'm clueless, like I don't remember the question, but I was straight up clueless. And then he goes, okay, like it's fine, just like look it up, like you can use Google on this interview. And like I don't know why he was so nice to me. But yeah, the whole interview was basically I was screen sharing and we were like he was asking me a question, and then he would just watch as I go about like solving it, like learning about it.
yeah,
And
you just
I
want to
think
like
that's one thing I'm really good at. Like I'm really good at just like learning certain things really quick and just like being able to understand what's going on. So I think he saw that too. Um, and he saw that like he asked me a question and I was able to like even though I knew nothing about it, I got to a point where like I could talk about it like within like 5 minutes. And I think later he was like, yeah, you have that skill. Like I think like you're a smart guy. Like I hope for the best for you. But and then he ended up giving me the internship. So I was pretty surprised. I was like insanely surprised. So I was in Colorado that summer working on the James Webb Space Telescope, as you mentioned. Um, I was doing like front end work though, so I was working with like Angular, changing like the color schemes and stuff, and like it was like a dashboard for physicists to get info, like be able to query out info from like the databases, but I had nothing to do with the backend. They didn't even like tell me the details about it.
okay. So you were like pretty much working with like the front end, so then they could actually use this system to query info like from the telescope database or like and like send data packets to telescope and stuff. Like it was more just like you weren't actually interacting with the telescope, but still like that's I mean yeah to like score that as a freshman that's pretty awesome.
Well, I guess they already had a front end too. Like they were just making a new version of it. So yeah.
No, it's still cool though. And then so then where do you go from there? Like you keep grinding at school. Actually yeah, like coming back to school like so now like you're past like a freshman, like you're probably getting into the rhythm of things. Like do you party at all in college or like hang out with friends and like do cool like new experiences, or like are
Yeah.
you still just like grinding at this point?
No, I think like after freshman spring's like grind of like recruiting plus like 5 insanely hard courses, I was like, I think I need to like chill. Like this is definitely not the way to do it. So I took a very chill like sophomore year, like the entire year. I was like I also like joined the volleyball team. I made it through like the tryouts or whatever, and then so I was like playing a lot of volleyball sophomore year. I
So
was
what volleyball team was this? Was this the club volleyball or like the
this is club volleyball. We don't have a varsity team at Penn.
okay.
So like club level gets pretty intense for volleyball, I think, across the US. So it was, yeah, it was just a lot of like gymming and volleyball. trying to like stay afloat in my classes. Um, and recruiting was like really hard sophomore year just because the market was bad, I think. And as a sophomore, like I guess like maybe I could have tried harder, like found like referrals or stuff, but I was just straight up just applying on LinkedIn for like
Yeah.
3 months. I at some point I didn't have an internship for sophomore year, but I applied for my junior year, and like I got like an internship for after junior year already in
Oh,
like
nice.
in quant trading, but then like I didn't have a sophomore year internship, which I was like fine with it. I was like, it doesn't like I'll just try to find something. But I ended up working at like a place that makes like banking software.
Okay. And then is that once you like were working in May, is that where you started kind of getting the idea like, all right, I want to like go into quant and do something in that like area, like kind of the confluence of like finance and like tech, or like did you still not decide yet?
I feel like that internship kind of pushed me away from software,
Yeah.
um, because I
Which
looked at
side?
it was a software internship or writing code in Java. Java was my main programming language. I didn't really get to influence a lot. It was a yeah, I just didn't get to do a lot, and it was pretty boring in my opinion. I think like the overall general flow of like the legacy software system is that like no one really cares too much about it. It's not high stakes. So when something's not high stakes and it's what you're working on all day, like for like a period of like years, like I think this like it's just like we'll just do it how much ever we can. And
Yeah.
like it's definitely overstaffed with like a bunch of engineers on it. Um so yeah, so I was kind of pushed away from like software in general because of that. And I was like I knew that trading itself was like a more like I wouldn't say fun, but like more active and involved job.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was like, yeah, like I would definitely prefer that.
All right. So you kind of got the career figured out. Like you wanted to go into like trading and quant. We'll kind of come back to that a little more. But like, yeah, just like thinking, I mean, you're a senior now, you're about to graduate. Like just thinking about like through your time at Penn, like any like first actually tell us about because I know like as an engineer, like I mean you yourself were like cracked, but like tell us about like some of the other people like you've met or like some friends you made and like I don't know, like how what's like the kind of crazy like all the stereotypes we hear about like engineers like
Yeah.
at like an Ivy League. Like, what do you know anyone who's like the epitome that of that, or like you know people who've like done super like crazy things to have done for a college student? Like, do you have any stories?
Let me think. Well, I do know that like most of the other computer science majors that I know at Penn are like these guys are like insane. Like these people are like
Like,
probably like
that's
some of
like
the
what makes them so insane.
I think like just like everyone just has a general aptitude like really good like computer science. These guys have been coding since they were kids. Um which I haven't. I've only been coding since college, but also a lot of like the at least computer science people that I do know, like they've it's like a mix of just having a really good aptitude for this type of stuff and just like being the hardest workers there are.
Yeah.
Like,
And that you probably can't do it if like it's like people are doing this because they're like, oh, I just want to do this to like make bank after college, and like they're not like you probably have to be motivated because you really love the thing, right? Because if you don't really love it, then you'd probably burn out like working at that kind of level. So like, would you say these people like are all doing it because they're like genuinely interested in like what they're learning and like doing, or I don't know, do you think people are just kind of doing it so they can land like prestigious jobs?
yeah. I think like a lot of people actually do start just because they want to land a high paying job, and I think that's totally fine. Um, but because these like as in general, like if you get into an Ivy League and you get in for like computer science, you're probably like pretty smart at like general math or like computer science in general, or like you have a quantitative side to you. And I think just the nature of like how computer science works, like it's so wide and like broad into like different things that you can specialize in inside of it that like a lot of people end up falling in love with like one of these branches over time over like your 4 years in college, and you're like, wait, like I really enjoyed building this like that internship or this class, like one of these experiences really stick with you, and you're like, that's so fun. And then like you kind of gain a passion for that, and like that kind of just expands into like a passion for the overall like field of computer science. So yeah, most people right now in senior year, like they have something that they're really passionate about in the field, other apart from the money. But I do know people that like are like this right now that came in to computer science, like knowing that you're gonna get a just like for the reason of getting a high paying job out of college.
Yeah. Well, all right, so just random question. You're like, these past like 4 years, what would you say is the dumbest thing you've done while in college?
Um, well, I've done a lot of dumb things. Um, let's see. Well, like sophomore year, I like there was a bunch of times where I had an assignment due in 3 hours. I would not start it, and I would just go to the gym instead. Um,
Like, did turn it in? All right, but like, was it all just like assignment related stuff you'd say?
no, I've done a bunch of them. I don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna out myself on other stuff here.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, bro, because then people are gonna see us and they're like, "Wow, Saad's such an idiot. Like, we shouldn't hire him." It's like, yeah, don't be like saying
No,
anything.
no, no. I was an idiot for a lot of things, but
All right, how about like something? I would,
okay.
yeah, maybe not the dumbest thing, but like, let's say like a dumb thing you did that you learned from. Like in retrospect, you would not like. I don't know, like something that you think could like.
Away from my classes and stuff. Oh yeah, so I was playing a cricket game for the cricket team, like last year. I think exactly like a year ago, and then like it was a home game. Like I slept like super late the last night because we had a party at our place or something, and then the next morning we woke up after like 4 hours of sleep. I was at this game. I was opening the batting, so I was like one of the opening batsmen, and like me and the captain went out. We ran off to like a rolling start. Everything was going great. Like this is also like my second match for Penn. Like I just joined the cricket team just because like I had friends on it,
Damn, I
and
didn't even know we had a cricket team.
yeah, I didn't either until like my friend was like, bro, like you should just come. Like you used to play in India. So I was playing. This is my second game. We were like off to a great start. Me and the captain were doing great. Eventually, like he gets out, and then we just have like a everyone just starts getting out on the other side. And then I was playing well. I was off to like 40 runs, I think. Like, and then I swing my bat like really hard straight down, and then um I think just like the inbounds of my shoulder, like my shoulder just popped out, like my left shoulder.
Yeah, you dislocated it, right?
I dislocated it, and I like fell to the ground. Like I was on my like I fell on my knees on the ground, and like I think it got reset by itself by the time I hit the floor, or like maybe when I hit the floor, like it was good. So like I was laying down and I was in pain, so I like stepped out for like around like 15 minutes, and then like we just lost like another 2 or 3 wickets, and like we had like two people left like to bat, and I was like, shit, like this is bad. Like we were off to such a great start. Like honestly, I feel like fine. Like it probably wasn't even. Like, I don't think it was a dislocation. Like I would be in extreme pain.
Wait,
Uh,
didn't you dislocate your shoulder though at one point? And you had to like get it popped back in.
wait, yeah. So I'm getting to that. So then I went back out, and then I was playing again. Like I was focusing only on my right arm, like mainly just trying to get. I go to like around like 65 runs. At this point, hit another like 25, like trying to do as much as possible, and then without like the other end, just people getting out on the other side. Um, but it pops out again, like when I'm batting, and like this time I'm like on the floor in pain. Again, I think it popped in by itself, or maybe like I helped, like me holding it made it pop in. But this time was like definitely worse, and like yeah, I just like I had to go to the hospital. This is also like peak like midterm season, peak time of the college, like everything's just getting so busy. I was like in so many clubs and classes and like sports. It was right before volleyball nationals. So it was like a horrible time to do what I did where like I think just like after your arm pops out, going back in is like probably like the like it was really dumb.
Yeah, damn, but it's all chill now. Your shoulder. That's good.
Yeah, it's been a year now. I think because it was like only two partial dislocations. It's fine. I just had to like do a lot of PT and rest. It doesn't hurt at all anymore, so I think it's basically full recovery.
No, it's nice. How on average would you say is like the amount of sleep you get? Like, do you sleep well like each night? Like, or have there been nights you've just like gone like without sleep. Like I know people in engineering school have, like literally gone like 2 nights like no sleep. Like had it ever come down to that for you or not really?
It has come down to that over the past like 4 years.
Or
But
really? Like,
I think
we're
like
up for like 2 nights in a row. Or have you done more than that?
I think 2 nights was like the most I've done. Like probably like 48 hours.
And
But
then you just
they're,
like
like
crash after that, or like what?
yeah, I think it's the worst it is like yeah, when you like do 2 nights in a row and then like you have time to like crash after that, it's fine. I think sophomore spring, I mean freshman spring, I was on like 4 hours of sleep or like 3.5 hours of sleep a night, like throughout the entire semester. And like that was it was like terrible. And like I think just like your overall like ability to just like think about problems or like your productivity during the day, like what you're doing, your emotional state, everything just deteriorates so much because of that. And like it took a while to recover. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I think coming into college, I had a great sleep schedule. Like I always just like sleep. Like every time I close my eyes, I could just sleep right away, and I still am like that. And like I love sleeping, to be honest. But like it kind of did deteriorate. Like I had a really bad sleep schedule freshman and sophomore year, and like the first half of junior year. But like since then, I was like, wait, like sleep is definitely the most important thing. Like yeah, you can apply to like 10 more places. You can do like one more problem, homework. You can do whatever. Like you can gain some points, but
Wait, do
like
you remember what happened the day you just like didn't sleep for 2 nights? Like
yeah, I think it was just like
it's like work.
2 to 3 midterms and like 2 to 3 like hard assignments
And do
and
you like in retrospect, like do you think people have to get into these situations, like, or is it like what did you literally just like not have enough hours, like you had to do that, or was it also just like you think you could have planned it better, like in retrospect?
yeah, I mean like if you know how we talked about me not paying attention in class and like me not doing stuff until the last minute, it's definitely because of that. Like I I always just back myself to like grind for like 5 hours before every test and like do well. Um, and like I think it usually works out when stuff is spaced out. But if I have 3 midterms in the span of 2 days, and like that's 5 hours for each, that's 15 hours in those 2 days, plus like the regular pen assignments that never stop, which are probably like also like enough to fill up your day. And just like you can't just like constantly grind for this stuff. Like it takes a toll on you. So I think that's when it gets really bad for me. And obviously like as like over the semesters I got better with like just managing time and like actually just like getting better at like doing these college courses.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. So then, all right, so then you get an internship like at one of your quant internships, your first quant internship at Royal Bank of Canada, right? RBC. All right. So you did a bunch of stuff there. You actually did. You shared your resume with me, which is I was looking through. It was pretty interesting. But like, all right, let me just like read a thing off your resume and like, all right, let's
Yeah.
talk about this. You said at RBC Capital Markets, you're a quant developer intern, and one of the projects you did was you extended the Java Pulse network of the quoting algorithm to Fed fund instruments and short dated swaps. You increased resiliency of the data publishing and garbage collection mechanism, and you designed parametric dealers and competition bid offer spread adders. All right, like I don't know, like someone who's like not like really a finance guy, like I don't really know like what the hell I just read, and I think a lot of people are probably like, yo, what the hell is that? Like, so can you like break down what that project was, and like is that like a typical project you do like as a quant developer, or is it just more like banking specific?
Yeah, I think the reason it sounds like that is because one, like, it's a bunch of domain specific terminology, and two, like, it's a resume, like, it's all the resume fluff. Um,
Yeah, I mean, don't be saying that. Like, this is all like what you actually did.
yeah, yeah, but like I wouldn't use the word resiliency if I was talking like in general. But okay, either way, I think what that really means is that um, basically what the bank does, like what the traders at the bank do, is they offer to buy and sell anything. Like what for my in my case, like government bonds. So they buy them and they sell them to and from people at different
But
prices.
actually, before you get into that, just like break down, like, why would there be traders like at a bank? Like, I get it if you're like at like some like high frequency trading firm, right? Like you're some hedge fund. Like, why would a bank have traders? Like, start with that, and then yeah, get into it.
Yeah, so usually banks get into the business of capital, they call it capital markets, which is basically like being a dealer. And what that means is like you're a brokerage, like you basically are trying to get into the business of buying and selling from people because you know that like you're an institution with a lot of money. You don't have like they call it liquidity problem, which is basically just means that like you have the ability to move like large chunks of money everywhere. So it makes sense for like you to try to be in this place where like people are trying to they're looking for someone to move their money for them, and like you have the ability to do that. So I might as well be there. That's like the bank's perspective on it. In the end, it's just like another money making engine for them. Um, but yeah, like what these traders try to do is they try to buy cheap and like sell high. And all of this has been put onto computers now. It's all algorithms on the computers. And so there's a lot of like quants that like try to improve like the efficiency and like the pricing of different things that they're buying and selling. Because if you have insight into what's going to happen, you're obviously going to do better.
Yeah.
Um,
Then
so
we get back into like what you were working on with the Java Pulse network.
yeah, so we had our huge algorithm all written in Java, and we this is a pretty new thing. It was like 2 years old, and it was all written by like three guys. And well, I like they basically only were like giving these buy and sell prices for like a certain group of like instruments, and the world of bonds is huge. There's like so many, like there's like hundreds and thousands of like instruments. When I say instrument, it's like something you could buy or sell. Um, and we were only coding a small group of them. So what I did is like all these things were also bought and sold on a different platform. So I just coded up the system that like would do the buying and selling on a different system, on a different like trading platform for us. And it's not trivial. You're not just like being like, okay, do it on this one too now. There's like a lot of like considerations in terms of like how much volume, like how many people are on this platform and all that. So you kind of do like a lot of analytics and see how much the pricing changes from this platform to this platform, and
Yeah.
like what you're gonna do with that and all that. So that was one thing I did. The other thing I did was like more of like a quant research type of thing where basically like when there's someone who's dealing with the banks, is they're usually not dealing with one bank. They're dealing with like four banks or five banks or six banks at the same time, and they all ask for like a price from like all these six people that they are dealing with, and they're just gonna pick the best one. Um, so from a bank's perspective, you're in competition with these like five or six other banks constantly, and there's a lot of like effects of like information leakage of like how much you're pricing and how much they're pricing, and there's like a lot of dynamics of like how much information leakage you're doing versus how much you're willing to lower your price at which you're selling so that you can be the guy that whoever you're dealing with chooses. And like there's a lot of dynamics in that sense and like a lot of game theory that goes in there. um so I was doing like a whole like research project on like how our pricing is our basically the pricing scheme. We were just going linear, like the number of dealers in competition that we're like in competition with, our pricing would be like literally linearly like worse because we didn't want to leak information. um and I was just like that was definitely not the best way to do it. Like obviously a straight line is just a simple solution and it usually works well, but there's like when it comes to quant trading, everything's about like adding a little bit of edge in every place you can.
Yeah.
So we're looking at more of like a wavy form where like we can kind of like trace how the dynamics actually work.
Yeah. What was it like working? Like, did you have to go? Were you working in Canada for this?
No, I was working in New York, like in like Lower Manhattan, like Wall Street area.
Oh, nice, nice. Um, what would you say like the culture was like there? Was it like frat bro, like hardcore? Or was it like pretty like I don't know, like cushy and like work life balance and that type of thing, or was it just like I don't know, what was the vibe?
Yeah, so I was working pretty hard. I was working like 12, 13 hours a day. I think most people there are working pretty hard. I think most traders in general work hard. Um, but yeah, it was when I went in, I felt like the culture was great. I was like, wait, like I knew that I thought trading floors were like the shittiest place of all time. But like this is fine. Like I'm writing code, I'm doing trades, like obviously fake trades as an intern. But this is great. My manager is like super nice, super smart guy, super nice. Um, he's really organized. He's good at being a manager. Like I think this is great. I think like 4 to 5 weeks in, I started seeing like the reality of the place. Other than like my manager, I think the other people weren't as much of like a good influence. Like the whole culture is like it's pretty frat bro-y. Like it like you kind of just rise up the ranks of like this social ladder that they had in the traders based on like how many years you've been there and like how like yeah, it definitely there's like a lot of like culture things that come in, especially on the trading side. I think the developer side was definitely still more chill, where like in the end, like I feel like software engineers in general are just like everyone just know like it's a bit more of like a chill culture. Like as long as like you guys can work together and like people are more down to work together too. The traders on the other hand were a bit more like individual in like the work they do obviously, and there's like a lot of dynamics that like culture dynamics that were going on there. So I definitely think that for a trading company it's like a pretty good place to be. I think the banks in general, a lot of people try to move to like the more like hedge fundy like quant fund like private fund type of things. So it was okay. Like I definitely there were days where I didn't like it and there were days like oh this is fine. This is fine.
Yeah, so wait, were you kind of like mixed on the floor with like, was it just like you or just with other devs, or were you also with like um other like traders? And like were all the traders there like also developers? Or like are they also like software engineers, or like were there also some traders who like were just like management, like didn't actually know anything about coding?
Most of the traders didn't know anything about coding.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like the intern for the entire rates team. There's like me and my friend. Um, and we were the interns for both trading and developing. So we were doing like a bunch of like stuff for trading and the developers. We'd have projects from both, which is great because like I got to learn a lot, but which is like not great because I was doing like an insane amount of work.
Yeah.
So it was a trade-off. I think like glad I got to do it. So we would do like a lot of mock trades, watch the market, see what's going on, just understand how the whole like trading industry works. But on the other side, we were like writing code to like actually make the system that was actually going into production to like help the algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if you're working like I don't know, like how like do the offices just like stay open like late at night? Like can you like, what's like
Yeah.
the latest you left the office, like left from there?
The latest I left was probably like 7:30 p.m. or like
It's not
maybe like almost 8 p.m. one day.
okay,
Uh,
so you weren't ever there like past like midnight or anything like that.
no, no, no. But I used to also get to the office around like 6:30.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean the IBs, the bankers in the same office used to stay past midnight until like the like whatever, like 4 a.m. or whatever. Um, so it's not as bad as that, but I think most of the time when you are at work as a trader, you're like pretty focused and like doing like mind intensive work.
Yeah. And like you think like people, I don't know, like some of the trade like I don't know if you've seen the show, like have you seen the show Industry?
I have.
Okay, well that's also like IB and not really quant, but like you, I don't know, like you probably know like some of the stereotypes of like the traders, like who's staying there like super late, like locked on Adderall, like just grinding all the time, like super like stressed out and like can flip out. Like was it actually like that, or like
Yeah, it definitely was.
were you?
Like the traders wouldn't stay too late. Like all the trading floor would be empty like at work by around like 6:30. But I think like like one of my bosses would be like on the market like sending Bloomberg messages at like 2 a.m. or like 3 a.m. And then be at work the next day at like 6 a.m. Um, and it was pretty intense. Like I think the summer I was there last summer was like a very intense time. So it was fun to be there. There's like a lot of like keyboard smashing, a couple of times there's like people actually fighting and arguing on the thing about like their different directions and like so people arguing about like why even though they're losing money that they're right and like it's just
Yeah.
an overall like it gets intense and I think
Was it like all dudes too, or like was there a mix?
yeah the team I was on was all dudes.
Oh,
um
okay.
I think yeah the ratio is like really bad and I think that's a problem. I think the sales team for our team, the corresponding sales team, was way more balanced.
Yeah. Cool, cool.
But
So you had so yeah, all right, so you got this and then so now like you've gotten into like the quant like space. And then I don't know, word on the street is that you turned out like you're getting it's time for your return offer, right? You turned out an offer from like one of the big name quant firms and you change that to then decide and you decide to work I mean you're working at another pretty awesome quant firm, IMC. But like why did I know like with the big name comes like some more prestige and probably like maybe a nicer paycheck too. It's like what made you turn that down and go for IMC instead?
yeah, I think when you're comparing different quant firms, like yeah, like the pay matters, but once you are earning a good amount, like there's a factor of like how much this like the direction of the company in which it's going, the type of culture at the company and stuff like that. Especially after working at the bank, I realized that like culture does play an important. Like if you're spending most of your day with these people, like it better be a good place. Like I definitely work best when I am like in general like happier. So that came into effect, and another thing was like there's like a good number of people from Penn that go to IMC. So there's an overall like better culture in terms of like knowing people and like it's just a bit more involved in that sense. There's also like a difference in roles, like trading bonds versus just being a general quant trader. And like early in my career, I wanted didn't want to like narrow down into one field. Um, so there's a bunch of like trade-offs that I was thinking about. Um, the main thing though for me was that I don't want to stay in quant trading for too long. Um, which like because in sophomore year was when I was like, yeah, like quant trading is the coolest thing ever. Um, but like over since then, it's kind of just been a downhill, like slowly been coming down for me, where like you kind of realize the realities of the job. You kind of realize, um, like that there's definitely like this might it might seem like the best outcome out of college. Like you're probably earning a lot more than just being a software engineer at a non like quant place. But it also comes with a lot of like what hard skills do you have? What value are you providing? People say they're making the markets fairer, but like is that are you really passionate about that? Like can you be providing some better like a better value to society somewhere else with like your talent? Because like when you see like all the best talent in the world just going into making some rich guy richer, um you're like wait like do I want to be a part of this? And like I think it's fine like you're spending time with like the smartest people that which is like what I love about coin trade. Like you're these are the smartest guys out there. You're doing fun thing like trading in general, like it can be treated as a game.
Yeah.
Well, it's involved work, you're enjoying, you're being mentally like challenged. It's things you love, but in terms of like passion, like it would be great to do something that's changing people's lives.
Yeah, so what's the plan? Like to like work at the quant firm for a little, like make some good money and then like build your own thing and like build a startup and like sell it or something and then like ball out and be like chill, or do you want to like just keep working on like cool projects, like not even about the money, like just whether like it's of interest to you and if it's like beneficial to society?
Yeah. I think just knowing me, like I always love working on something. Like I'm gonna be involved in something. I'm gonna be doing something even throughout the day. Um, so the idea right now is to stay in quant trading for as long as like I'm like interested in it, which is probably going to be a good amount of time. Um, but I do want to leave at some point to build something more on like the tech side. I like my friends like Kai for example and like Joseph have like we've talked about like starting like a fund, like a hedge fund too. But like it's all like definitely like not stuff we're planning on doing like anytime soon, maybe like at least 5 to 6 years in the future.
Yeah,
So yeah, until then, like until at least 3 to 5 years, I see myself being pretty locked in on quant trading. And
yeah. How do you
like
see that's? Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, like I would hope and like I'm gonna like try my best to like keep up to date with like the cutting edge of tech. Like right now in college, we have the time and ability to just like be on Twitter or like be on like on the cutting edge. Like you know what's coming out, every single AI model is coming out every day, every new capability, every new cool project that people are putting out. Like you're kind of up to date with it. As hard as it is to stay up to date with it, you're kind of like addicted to just like learning all these new things. When you're kind of like pushed into a domain and you're kind of like building that domain specific knowledge, it might be harder to stay up to date with like the tech world. But
Yeah,
I definitely do think that like being with your friend, like just be having a community that's in that space is like the best thing that you could have.
yeah,
So
definitely. And like, I'll just ask a few more questions here, dude. But like, all right, how do you see, like you mentioned AI, right? It's like you want to stay in quant for a little bit. Like, how do you see AI playing a role in that? Like, do you see it like actually like could it replace like devs like working at a quant firm entirely pretty soon? And like, what do you think about that? And then also, I guess answer that first, and we'll also get into like, yes, if you're trying to build something after you leave quant, like, would it be something? Obviously, I know everyone's in the AI space, like AI is a big buzzword. Like, would it be something in that space too?
yeah, I think that it would make sense for it to be in that space. I do have been doing a lot of random projects like in with like trying to see what I can build with AI and just like in general I love it. I think in terms of the market, the way the market is going, the way like tech is going in general, um, I don't think AI progress is stopping anytime soon.
Yeah. And then how do you feel about it in the quant space? Like,
Yeah, in the quant space, I think okay, in general, I think when I'm coding, the like when I start using AI when I'm coding, when I'm using Cursor, when I'm using like ChatGPT, Anthropic, like what I realize is I'm able to use it so well because of the knowledge I have in computer science by myself through my coursework, through like stuff I've done before AI came out or like as I've been learning it. Um, and you only get better at using AI because you're also learning from it. Like when I'm using Cursor and I'm reading like everything that it says and is using to like try to help me, it's basically like a private tutor that's helping you build your product. Um, so I think what it does is it kind of increases the stakes, like the difference between like the levels of devs that you could be. It kind of just like extrapolates that a lot, and like it's an exponential level of increase at your current level that AI gives to you as a tool. So yes, I think AI is useful for devs in quant. I'm not gonna be a dev, so I don't know like how much like companies allow it at right now. Obviously, it's going to be there. Like it's gonna come in. It's gonna come in at some level at some point. I do know a friend that's like, yeah, like our company just doesn't allow any AI written code, like no chat GPT,
yeah.
everything should be handwritten. And then that makes sense. Like these
So
companies are
why do you want to risk like something with that if you're like, especially in finance? Like, yeah,
because like everything has to be so like every line of code you write in quant trading is so like influential in the way stuff goes that you want to be so sure about every single line.
yeah.
And yeah, it does is just
You can't
yeah,
be vibe coding at a quant trading firm.
exactly. So and it makes sense. Like I think vibe coding is beautiful for like the more of like a like the on the tech side where like you're just trying to create something new and you're creating products. When you're trying to stick to a certain set of guidelines and you're trying to do it perfectly and there's enough people that like know this stuff, I think it would make more sense to just not have the risk of like an AI like mistake happening in there.
Yeah,
Um, On the trading side, it definitely does help. I do know a lot of like more manual traders, or like at least people in the private equity space that are like that use AI to just they use a deep research, whatever, just know everything that's going on that day. Or like anytime you're like investing in a company, like you can just use AI to like build up a whole report, go into the extreme details, and like go like actually way more deeper than you probably could yourself, even with the time. So I think it's a great tool in that sense, for trader like just for general knowledge, or like getting into an area really quick. Because like as a trader,
Yeah,
you
you have
wanna,
like a pretty much like mini analyst right there that you can kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
yeah,
force it to do whatever you want, and like it'll give you like, I mean, it'll definitely like replace like the low level analysts who are like giving
yeah.
you information
I
or
think like it could like it replaces the low level analyst, but it also makes a low level analyst into a higher level analyst.
yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see about that, like how it plays out. But yeah, all right. Before we wrap up, just like, all right, one or two more questions. What was I gonna ask you? I'm forgetting, but like, oh yeah, yeah. So like, do you have like any like clear idea of like what it's gonna be after after this, like after quant, or like you're just gonna find out like where the space is and like go from there?
Uh, I think the space is definitely AI. Like I read a lot of AI research papers just out of like interest. So I definitely want to build in the space. I've just been building. I plan on building until I start working. Um, but yeah, I think my goal would just be like be able to build something like like a product that is providing value, because
Yeah,
that's something that I really feel bad about not being able to do right out of college. Um, like and I like really want to do. I want to be accountable for something that I build. I want to like be able to sell this, and like you said, like if I can't sell the whole company, like great, maybe like I don't know how like if I would want to at the time, um, and like in the end, I do want to have start something that I do own over long periods of time, and not just like kind of just like be a serial startup starter. At some point, I do want to like have a long term company that I'm managing, but yeah, you never know how that's gonna go, I think. Like,
yeah. And of course, like, dude, you're coming out of Penn and you're probably gonna you're like in the range of like some of the highest salary people are making like out of college, just like probably anywhere in the world. So like the money's gonna be flowing in, dude, especially working in quant. Like, do you have any like ideas what you want to do with that? Are you gonna like buy any cool things? Like, I don't know, find like a fully like decked out apartment, or like are you just gonna reinvest like that all into like your own learning and like invest it, I don't know, in the markets?
yeah. I think it's important to like increase your quality of life very slowly. I think that's what me and my like
Not
other
gonna splurge
friends
on anything.
talking
You
about.
could splurge on one thing right away though. Like, what are you planning on?
It would definitely be traveling. Like it would definitely just be like not even like spending it on the traveling, just like being able to just like go like just buy a flight ticket somewhere and just like explore. Because when you have like a financial backing, you know that like worst case you fall sick, like you could get a hotel room, like whatever. But the ability to just explore random stuff, in
Yeah,
terms of like an actual physical product, I don't really know what I would splurge on. Like I like I'm not too passionate about like
yeah, like like item like shiny cool like items like that. It's more like the experience, right?
yeah, I definitely like care a lot more about just like collecting experiences.
Definitely. All right, dude. Yeah. So, like, any final words to our viewers of the Unbuttoned podcast? Any information you want to leave them with? Any knowledge or wisdom?
Uh, I mean, like, I'm definitely not qualified to give like general life advice, but I would say, yeah, thank you for watching, and like, thank you for like listening to everything I did say and like my story, and I hope you find at least some of it useful. And I guess if I had to give some sort of like thing that I like say, I'd say like enjoy and like try to take life like as like maybe not as long term as you want it to be, or maybe not too short term, like maybe somewhere in between, and like work hard, but also have fun. And like it's important to like just make sure that you're staying happy and being like able to make sure that you can stay happy long term is probably
Yeah. Oh, oh, cool. All right, dude. Thanks so much for being on this episode.